So as the title suggests, I'm trying something new. Every Saturday, I'm going to upload a video called Storytime Saturday. And I'm just going to talk about some crazy shit that I've done, or something funny that happened, or something scary that happened. And I hope you guys enjoy it. It's just going to be like a once-off video once a week, and hopefully you'll enjoy them, you'll find them funny, or you know, whatever. And another thing I want to say just before I get started is there's a problem with my comments at the moment. So every time I try and post a comment, it says error, comment not posted, 500. So I don't know what that means. It's been happening since last night, so I hope it gets sorted, and I hope that I'm able to answer your guys' comments soon, because I know there's a few comments that I haven't answered, but that's because I physically can't. I've tried answering them on my laptop, on my phone, nothing's working, so hopefully that'll just sort itself out and everything will go back to normal. So the first story that I've decided to tell is the one and only time that I have gone camping. It was not like it was supposed to be, it wasn't magical, it wasn't pretty, there was no fireflies buzzing around a campfire, you know, there was no campfire songs and roasting marshmallows over a fire. I don't know why every example I gave there had fire in it. So it was in 4th year of secondary school. I was about 14, 15 and we had to go on a trip. In order to graduate from 4th year and move on to 5th year, we had to go on a week-long trip to Achill. Now for those of you who don't know, Achill is it's like a really remote, secluded place just off the coast of Ireland, and you have to take like a fucking ferry to get there. There's mountain climbing, there's rock climbing, there's swimming, there's canoeing, there's all this crazy shit. Now I'm not an outdoorsy person. In fact, I fucking hate the outdoors. I'm terrified of water, so swimming and canoeing was a no-go for me. Climbing up that goddamn mountain took what felt like forever, and I'm not very experienced when it comes to like outdoors. So let's start from the start. So we had to get to our school at about 7 o'clock in the morning to get the bus. I was homesick on the fucking bus before we even pulled out of the school. I could see my mother's car and I was just an absolute state that I had to go. I'm a home bird, I hate leaving home, so the thought of leaving home for a week was just absolutely scarring to 15-year-old me. So we got on the bus and we left. I can't remember what time we reached there, but it was like a really fucking long drive. It was like 6 or 7 hours. So we finally get there and we pull into this little hostel kind of thing. We were all paired up and put into rooms. There was like 4 or 5 person to each room. And I was thinking, well, maybe this won't be that bad. I mean, I'm in a room with all my friends, it could be fun. I was fucking wrong. I think the first activity that we did when we got there was we went canoeing. Straight away, no for me. I mean, I think I told you about the time that I almost drowned in a canoe, like a few videos ago. So, canoeing was no for me. I had to sit down on the grass and watch as everybody else went in canoeing. I think there was 2 or 3 other girls with me who hated water as well, so like there was no other activities for us, so we just had to sit there on the grass watching for like an hour. So that was boring. And then after that I think we had some other activity, and then it was like group time, so we had to like go into a room together, all like 80 of us, because it was my entire year, and like talk or play fun games. Like one of the games was we had a cardboard cereal box and we had to pick it up using our mouth, no hands. And each time someone picked it up, the bit that they bit would be torn off the box, so the box gets smaller and smaller. Yeah, real hygienic, not embarrassing at all. Now after that then we were all put back into our little rooms and it was like bedtime. But every night that we were there, a camp kind of guide took a group of us out to go climb up a mountain and camp up on the mountain. Like this was a genuine fucking mountain. It's the type of shit you'd see in Lord of the Rings or like fucking some Peter Jackson landscape. So the first night we were there, they took a group out up the mountain. We'd all been made aware that there was like a yellow weather warning that particular night for rain and winds. This didn't stop the camp people. It didn't stop our teachers. I wasn't camping that night because it wasn't like my turn. So we all went back to our rooms, we had a laugh, we settled down and we went to sleep. It was middle of the night, maybe 2 or 3 a.m. and we heard like lots of noise outside the door. We heard people talking, you know, people were banging on doors. If you're ever in a hostel out camping and you hear people banging on the door, piece of advice, don't fucking get up, pretend you're asleep. This fucking idiot right here was like, what the fuck was that? So I sat up out of the bed. So when the camp guide came into my room at 2 a.m, I was the only idiot sitting up looking her dead in the eye. She took this as you heard me and you're gonna help, okay. She came up to my bed and took my quilt off of me. She took my blanket off of me. Now, keep in mind, it was fucking freezing up here. It was like -degree weather, and the hostel we were staying in didn't have like heating or anything. So you had to sleep in all of your clothes, bundled up under your blanket, and you'd still be shivering. She took my blanket. Now the reason she took my blanket was the people who had gone up the mountain camping had to evacuate in the middle of the night. Their tents started like sliding down the side of the mountain and the winds was just ripping their shit all over the place. So they had to like leave the mountain and come back to the hostel. But the problem was, because of the size of our group, there wasn't enough room in the hostel. So if the camp guide took 20 people out every night to go camping, without those 20 people in the hostel, it was still like packed, like every room was used. Because they expected there to be 20 people missing every single night. This particular night, the 20 people came back. There was no room. All of their stuff was wet because they'd been up on the muddy, slidey mountain of doom. So they came back and they needed like blankets and shit. But like, picture this: you wake up at 2 a.m. There's people banging on your door. Like, I am a desperate morning person. If you wake me up at all, I am confused and cranky. So I wake up and I sit up out of the bed and then suddenly my quilt is just taken off of me without even being asked. I didn't even know what was going on. So she left with my blanket and my best friend sat up in the bed next to me and she was like, what the fuck just happened? So I had no blanket and I was freezing, so I went outside my room to see what was going on. And everybody that had left the mountain were like sleeping in the hallway and they were all like taking blankets off of other people. So I felt bad for them, so I just let them have my blanket. And I had to go get my sleeping bag out of my backpack. I was new to this whole fucking camping lark, okay? The sleeping bags are rolled up and put into this tiny, super tight little pouch. It took me and my friend to try and wrestle it out of this pouch. And then the sleeping bag was like fucking tissue paper. I was freezing. So my friend had to come over and sleep in the bed with me, with her quilt, to try and keep me warm. We get up the next morning and I gotta try and put the sleeping bag back into its tiny little cocoon. It took 3 of us to do that, and even at that we couldn't close the bag. So my sleeping bag was hanging out, waving at everyone, you know. So that night then it was our turn to go camping. We were all freaking out. We were like, are we gonna go up the mountain? Are they gonna bring us up the mountain in this weather? And we were told, yeah, you're going up tonight. It should be fine tonight. But as the day went on, the weather got worse. So it was like, no, you actually can't go up the mountain. But we still had to hike it because that was part of our activities that we had to do. So we had to hike up this monstrosity in like rain and wind. And you know the way in every class you have those sporty people. You have those people who treat everything like it's the fucking Olympics. They were like sprinting up this mountain and they were like up the front of the group and they were like, come on everybody, oh my god, stop falling behind. Nah, I stayed behind. I stayed at the back of the fucking line and I pulled and dragged myself up that fucking thing. And there wasn't really any paths. You literally just had to fucking climb. And it was like a 2 or 3 hour to get up there and then 2 or 3 hours to come down. So we got up to the top of the mountain. Bear in mind, we were told to bring hiking boots. In my head, Doc Martens were hiking boots. They're fucking not. They're boots that like, you know, heavy metalers wear or kind of punk people wear, which I was going through that stage at the time, so I had Doc Martens. Don't ever wear Doc Martens if you're gonna climb a fucking mountain, okay? There I was, trying, these shoes were like cement bricks on your feet. I mean, walking around like a shop in them was hard enough because they're really heavy. Walking up a mountain. So I discovered about 5 minutes into that hike, oh, I fucked up big time. So we got to the top of the mountain and I was talking to my friend and we had like a really like dramatic like Saving Private Ryan moment. I was like, I'm gonna get my mom to pick me up tomorrow. And she was like, you can't leave me here. So we had a moment where we sat and we were like, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get down off this fucking mountain. And like we literally held hands because we were sitting on the floor and we had this talk and we kind of pulled each other up and we were like, come on. So then we started descending the mountain. In order to kind of get from the mountain area to kind of like solid ground, you had to go through a bog. For those of you who don't know what a bog is, let me tell you. A bog is neither land nor water. It's this muddy, mushy, squidgy thing that you can walk on, but you can also drown in. It's like ancient civilizations used to make sacrifices in bogs. Tulland man. They used to believe that because it was neither land nor water, it was kind of like holy ground. So if you're going to sacrifice somebody, as you do, you fuck them into the bog. Like, Jeremy's been acting up lately, fuck him. Let's put him into the bog and sacrifice him to the sun god. So we had to walk through a bog and we were kind of bang in the middle of the group. So we couldn't see, there was loads of people in front of us, but they were so far away we couldn't see them. And there was loads of people behind us, but they were so far back we couldn't see them. So it was just me and my friend walking through this bog. Now again, let me remind you of the Doc Martens. So as you step on the bog, your foot like sinks. It's like you're stepping, like I can't even compare it. As you try and walk in it, you sink. So you gotta kind of keep moving, you gotta keep walking because you'll just fucking sink into the bog. You try walking through a bog that's trying to suck you to hell with these cement bricks that are not helping on your feet. I was halfway through the bog when I pulled my leg up and I had no shoe. My fucking shoe had gotten sucked into the bog. So I had to get my friend to come over and help me, because if you like knelt down again, you'd start to fucking sink. So we had to try and quickly, while kind of moving, try to get my shoe back out because I had no other shoes. So I finally got the shoe out. It was covered in mud and there was all watery, muddy shit inside it, and I had to put it on. So we got through the bog. I was so done with life at this point. I was so fucking done. And then we came across a stream, and there was no way to pass the stream apart from jumping over it. Again, I hate water. The stream was like, it was fairly wide, but it was still jumpable. So my friend went back, ran, got a running start and jumped over it, and she landed really heavily on the side, but she was fine. Now, as I started my takeoff and started running, it clicked in my head like, you're gonna fucking fall into this shit, like you gotta get this bang on or you're gonna fall. So I panicked myself and freaked myself out so much that I jumped too early, and instead of jumping over the lake, I jumped bam into the middle of it. I can't swim very well, so I was freaking the fuck out and I was screaming at my friend to help me, and I was like clawing at like the river bank, and it was all mud and grass, it was all just coming off in my hands. Honestly, that was probably the most frightened I've ever been in my life. So I was freaking out, clawing at the thing, and she kind of dragged me up onto the land, and I just lay there for like 10 minutes. I couldn't stop my heart from pounding. I actually thought that I was going to have a heart attack, it was pounding that bad. But that was the end of the mountain journey. Thank fuck! So we got back on the bus, went back to the hostel, but it was our turn to camp. So our room had already been given away to someone. Yeah. So we'd gone up the mountain that everybody had camped on the night before, and we had come back down, and we needed a place to camp. The leader guy decided we'd go camp in the hangar. A hangar is like this big, empty fucking shell of a thing, and it's like made of metal. So it is so fucking cold. It's like sleeping in a metal hall. It is, oh my god, like icicles on your eyelashes kind of cold. So we went in and we set up our little tents, and we set up our sleeping bags, and we all sat down around like a small little kind of like makeshift fire thing, and we had to get our own food for that night. So we all walked to the shop, and the shop had nothing. So we ended up eating like cans of beans and half-cooked potatoes. Manky! So after eating what we could of that shit, it was bedtime. So we all went back into our little tents, into our sleeping bags. It was about 10 minutes into lying down that we discovered it is like dangerously cold. I'm talking, you know the iceberg from Titanic? Imagine fucking sleeping on that. Imagine sleeping on that naked, while eating ice cream, covered in ice cubes. That's what this shit felt like. We discovered that getting into our pajamas was a fucking mistake, so we all got redressed, like completely, jackets, fucking scarves, everything, and got back into our sleeping bags. It was so cold in the end we had to unzip all of our sleeping bags and make one giant sleeping bag and try to squish together as much as we could just so we could stop shaking. We didn't. None of us slept that night. We just shook the whole night long, and it was just miserable. And then we did a whole lot of other shit. Like, we did like rock climbing. There was outdoor and indoor. I did the indoors where they have all the colourful things on the walls that you can climb up like Spider-Man. That actually wasn't too bad. That was fun. A group went out swimming, so I stayed behind. I was like, listen, there's no point in me going with them and just sitting on the side of the thing and watching them like I did with the canoeing. So we were allowed to stay in the hostel, me and 2 or 3 other friends, and we decided that we needed to wash our hair. This isn't like Diva, like I need to wash my hair. This was like we'd been there like 4 days and there was no hot water in the showers, so we couldn't shower. So we hadn't like fucking showered properly in like 4 days. So we decided we'll have a little sink wash, we'll wash our hair, it'll be fine, we'll help each other wash our hair. Now at the time I had very, very long hair, it was like long. We took it in turns, like I'd stick my head in the sink, a friend would help wash my hair and then put a towel in it, and then I'd start washing their hair. So I was done at the towel on my head, and I was starting to wash my friend's hair when my phone rang, and it was my mother. So I was like, oh, I'll just take this really quick and I'll come back. So one of my friends took over washing for me, and I went out on the phone to my mum, and she's like, how are you? Are you okay? Are you having fun? Are you miserable? And I was like, seriously, if you could find your way to Achill, I'd need you to come pick me the fuck up. I'm gonna fucking like kill someone if I don't get out of here. So she was like, you'll be fine, you know, it's only 2 more days and you'll be home. And then suddenly the end of the line went quiet and everyone started yelling, and there was like muffled yelling. So I was like, what? What happened? Hello? Turns out my brother had fallen over and nearly split his fucking head open. My mother dropped the phone and everybody just forgot that I was on the other line freaking out, having no idea what had just happened. He was fine, by the way. I mean, he didn't hurt himself or nothing, so he was okay. So after that kerfuffle, it was like time for like group time again or something. And we went and we played cards until we were so bored that we didn't even have the energy to pick up a card from the deck. And then we did some other kind of crazy shit while we were there. And then the last day we were there, we were taken out on a drive. It was the morning we were leaving. We were taken out on a drive on the bus. What happened next was fucking weird, and like, I don't know if other people would do it. We were taken to see a dead whale. So basically, while we were in Achill, a whale washed up on the beach, and it was like fucking news. Like, this was like the most talked about topic of the whole week. So the bus driver took us to see this dead whale. The crater was just lying on the beach and people were getting out and looking at him and taking pictures of him. I was like, how the fuck would you like it if you dropped dead in the field and everyone came looking at you? So I didn't get out of the bus. I thought that was a bit twisted. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to see him, thanks. And then we all were taken back to the hostel. We all had to gather our shit, get everything that we had, and get ready to go home. Before we left, everybody got out to take a group picture. You know, because Achill was so fun. Yay! I watched them take the group picture from inside the bus. They dawdled so much that I was like, fuck this, I'm getting on the bus. They were like taking selfies and taking pictures with the tour guides, taking pictures with the fucking building. I wasn't having any of it. I literally got on the bus and was waiting for them to get on the bus. I was watching them through the window, like, can you please get on the bus so we can just go home? We have been there 6 days, too fucking long. I was ready to go home before we even left the school. Get on the fucking bus. We got on the bus and we started the 6-hour drive home. And when we got home, everybody brought suitcases with them with their stuff in it, like up there to Achill. So I had to wait at the side of the bus to get my suitcase back. And I could see my mother, and I hadn't seen her in a week. And I was like, Ma'am, that means good cooking, it means hot water bottles, it means home, let me go. So I was waiting for him to give me the bag. And when I finally got the bag, I pulled up the little stick thing that you drag it along with, and I just started running towards my mother. The suitcase was upside down, meaning the wheels were up in the air and I was just dragging it along the footpath. So I think that was the happiest I've ever been in my life to actually come home. We came home on a Friday, and on the Saturday, I had to go to Dublin because I was going to a concert. We got home at about 5 or 6 on the Friday night. And then I had to get up at about 7 or 8 o'clock the Saturday morning to go to Dublin. After a week of climbing mountains, being stuck in bogs, not eating properly, not sleeping, I actually caught pneumonia after that week because it had been so cold up there that I actually genuinely caught pneumonia. I went to the doctor and I was all fucked up for weeks. So I had to get up the next morning and go up to Dublin. It was for New Kids on the Block. They're like a boy band, and they were my mom's favourite boy band when she was growing up. So I surprised her and got her meet and greet tickets for them, and I went with her. So I went into a room. Donnie Wahlberg is actually in that group. He's an actor. And Donnie's really sweet and I loved him and I was really excited to meet him. So I went into the meet and greet kind of loft, and I was so sick that I was sneezing all over the place, I was coughing all over the place. I couldn't breathe because of the pneumonia. I was shaking because the cold had like seeped into my bones and just destroyed my soul. And I was trying to be cool. I was trying to be like, I'm so excited to be here. And I was thinking, I can't wait to get to our seats so I can sit down. I hadn't sat down in like a fucking week. The amount of shit we did up there was just... That was my experience with camping, and why I will never, ever, ever go camping again. I mean, in America they make it look so fancy. It's not. At least in Ireland it isn't. And everyone was like posting pictures on Facebook like, oh my god, it's so much fun. It was probably one of the fucking worst, most miserable experiences of my life. So that is why I thought I should start off Storytime Saturdays with the time I went to Achill. Or the time I nearly got eaten by a bog. Or the time that I nearly set up camp on top of a mountain and decided that I was too tired to climb down, so I was just going to live there for the rest of my life. There was a moment where I thought, what would actually happen if I just didn't come off this mountain, if I just fucking stayed here? So yeah, that was my story. I have so many stories about so many different things. I just thought I'd start with this one as like a warm-up. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll be uploading my reaction video for The Walking Dead on Monday.